Hey, we're back again, talking again about the Roland TB-3, and it is a transistor-based step sequencer, and it has been noted that I've been using a lot of the synthesizer and keyboard sounds. There's also a lot of bass sounds that perhaps I've been neglecting in other videos, so I'm going to just run through a few of them real quick. I think there's 43 sections in the B category, which is for bass, but you've got different sections with different types of keyboard sounds. So maybe I'll use this one. And something you might notice right away is that that rhythm that I was playing was not of a usual 4/4 time signature. And if you look up here at the running LEDs, they stop at 14 and go back to 1. So I've created a length of 14 16th notes for that pattern, which is essentially like a 7/4 timing, 14/4, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to show you a few different things that pertain all to the length and the timing and the tempo of the TB-3 and how you can access these different options. So first I'll show you what I've done there by holding down step record, and you can see this number 1 here, and we're on the first 16th note, the 1. I'm going to roll up, and you see it's rolling right to 14. That's where it's set to, actually. But I'm going to move it up to 15. Now that's going to be add a 15th, 16th note to my rhythm. And you can do that while it's playing. So if I hold step record again, let's move it up to 16 16th notes, which is the more usual 4/4 timing. You can actually go past the 16th. If I go past, it says 17. There's only 16 LEDs here, so it's just going to use the 1 again as a 17th. Now if I go all the way up to the 16, I've actually got 32 16th notes, so I've created 2 bars. But you can change that however you like. You can change it while you're playing, while you're writing. You can change it later on after you've written it. Something that you'll find is that a lot of the patterns that have been built into the TB-3 that come right out of the factory are set to 16 16th notes. It's the most usual amount of time for a rhythm. But you can always add more. Even if those spaces are empty, you just fill them up with the sounds you want, or you can delete them and create less. So next, let's talk about the tempo. And the easiest thing you can do to adjust the tempo is hit the tempo button, which makes sense. You see the 112 here, it's 112 beats per minute. And you can use the value knob, and you can go up. You can actually go all the way up to 300 beats per minute, which is really fast. But you can bring it back down. 112, it's kind of somewhere in the middle. But you can go right down to 40 beats per minute, which is on the extreme opposite side of being very slow. So let's say, just as a little shortcut, I'm going to hold down the tempo button, and I'm going to tap the scatter button. And the scatter button, while I'm holding down the tempo button, is going to act like a tap tempo. So this is going to match the space of time between each tap. So if I tap faster, you're going to get a faster rhythm. If I tap slower, obviously a slower rhythm. And that can be really useful if you're trying to sync up the pattern that you're creating here with maybe a sample, maybe from a record or some other outside source, and you just don't know what the beats per minute is, so you can mess around with the tap tempo and get it the way you like. I'm going to also show you now how you can access the shuffle beats, because all of these beats are straight, right on the beat. And I'm just going to turn that down a little bit. Maybe I'll even pick a different keyboard sound too. Okay, I've got a new keyboard sound here just to mix things up. Another bass sound from the B section here, B5. I'm just going to show you now how you can take this straight pattern, create a shuffle beat with it instead. You're going to hold the tempo button. You won't see anything change, but just keep holding it. Adjust the value knob. I'm going to move it up one. It's at 0, which is completely straight on the beat. But if I keep changing the value knob up, you're going to notice this. Now you can create shuffle patterns. You can actually shuffle up to an increment of 50, which is total shuffle. I think it's a little bit too much, but maybe it just depends on what you're going for. So I'll put it somewhere in the middle. And you can hear the shuffle there, especially if I slow it down. You might hear it even more. But I'm going to hold the tempo again, bring that shuffle back to 0. Now it's back on the straight beat. But you can also hold the tempo button and go below 0. You'll see the -1. This is going to be like a reverse shuffle. In the same way, there are 50 increments. So -50 would be the maximum reverse shuffle, I guess I'll call it. So my personal favorite is in the pluses, somewhere in the 20s, I would say. You really get to hear like the true shuffle. It's a pretty cool feature in case you don't want all of your songs to be straight on the beat. The last thing I'm going to show you now is the Triplets Grid. That's going to take all of your 16th notes and it's going to put them into a Triplets Grid, which creates triplet patterns out of them instead of straight 16th note on the beat patterns. And it's a really cool feature. I actually haven't seen it in very many videos, but I stumbled upon it and it's kind of interesting. So first, you just want to hold the step record button, and as soon as I hold the step record button and then hit tempo, you'll see it says on. And if I do that again, still holding and pressing tempo, it'll say off. So let's just hear what that sounds like if I press play. I'm going to hold step record, press tempo. It's actually just made the beat into triplets, which would be more recognizable if there were a drum beat going along with this. It just sounds like it's slowed it down basically right now. And I'll turn it off. Now the Triplets Grid is off, but again, it kind of just sounds like I'm speeding it up and slowing it down. But it's putting it into thirds or triplets, and if there were a drum beat going with this, all of a sudden you'd have your bass running at thirds, and you'd still have the drum beat going at its regular speed. That's the Triplets Grid. You can access it again, just holding step record, pressing tempo. Now it's off again. Okay, so there's some things you can do in regards to timing, speed, length, all of those things with the Roland TB-3, and I've got some other videos coming up, again, about the TB-3. I'm going to go through everything I know about it in 9 videos. Conductorelectronic.com. Like it, ring the bell, share it, and subscribe, leave a comment, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thanks a lot.